Something funky is happening there. Is that music still playing? No. Okay, it's not playing. There we go. I thought something funky was happening there, but it was just my earphones. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Although my shirt looks blue on screen, it is actually purple because today is Epilepsy Awareness Day, Purple Day. So, everybody here by now knows that my lovely wife Jennifer suffers from epilepsy, and we still do not have a solution to her health problems. But, I'm always happy to raise awareness for epilepsy. I only wish this looked purple on screen. Kind of a fail. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's going to be a great night tonight. I am going to start just by giving away some CDs. If you could recall, last week we did a CD draw. We were giving away... Hello, Chris Sarr. We were giving away 2 CDs to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of this show. It's just me hanging out on Friday night with my buddies. But 1 year is 1 year, and so I would like to announce the winners. The winner of the excellent first Cars album, remastered, is... Jeez, I should have been better prepared for this. Is... Kevin Simister! Woo! Says Jen from the other room. Kevin Simister is the winner of the Cars CD and the Jim Crean Insatiable signed copy. We have a winner for this one too. Yes, we do. This copy actually goes to this fella right here. Hey, Brian! Brian is the winner of the Jim Crean CD. And trust me, buddy, you are going to love this. Listen to the guest stars. Jim Crean, Phil Narrow, Mike Tramp, Phil Lewis, Carmine Appice, Vinny Appice, Tony Franklin, Don Jamieson, Jimmy Bain. Congratulations, winners. Yes, indeed, you are winners. And as Rob mentions here... Oop, that's not Rob. As Rob mentions here, you can't win if you don't enter. That's right. Congratulations, Brian. I will be sending that out in the mail whenever I can get out to a post office. I don't enjoy standing in line at the post office. I never did, and I really don't enjoy it now. Hooray for Brian. Yes, absolutely. It took a lot of talent to win that contest. So tonight, we are going to be talking about a band from Birmingham, England, called Black Sabbath. And tonight's show is going to be a little different. We're doing it in... going to do a couple of different things. We are going to have our very, very special guest. You may know him from a YouTube show called The Contrarians. Well, he is going to be here with us tonight. Marco from The Contrarians. We are going to be interviewing Marco. We are going to be doing a Black Sabbath Nigel Tufnell top 10 list, top 10 songs. And because it's a Nigel Tufnell top 10, that means we do 11. So obviously it has to go up to 11. And then third, we are going to discuss Contrarian Style, my favorite Black Sabbath album. My favorite Black Sabbath album. Or Slack Babbath, as our friend over in the UK has to say. And Lana's well prepared. She listened to Born Again just a few weeks ago. No, not Marco Fox. This is a different Marco. Spelled the same, though. Spelled the same. And yes, this guy gets it. These amps go up to 11. And I'd just like to reiterate, yes, post office queues do suck. So, if the winners do not receive their prize CDs in a timely manner, that's really the only reason. That's really the only reason. I'm going to actually, if he's ready, maybe just give me a thumbs up if you're ready. He's ready. I'm going to bring on our guest and get him to see some other cool stuff that I've got to show off tonight. So please welcome to the show, Marco from the Contrarians. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent.
Happy Purple Day.
Thank you. You sound loud and clear. This is good.
Awesome. Yeah. My partner has epilepsy.
Oh, no.
So that's something we have in common. Yeah. I've been married to her for over 3 years now, and she suffered from juvenile something epilepsy. So it affected her mostly in her teen years and her early 20s. And she's been seizure free for, I think, about 5 years. Awesome. But that's something that she struggled with for a long time. That's something we have in common. So happy Purple Day, everybody.
I'll try to have a happy one. It's not always easy. Right. It's tough. We still don't have a solution. No medications have worked for Jen. So
absolutely,
it is an ongoing thing. But on a happier note, I do want to show you something cool. You like Iron Maiden?
I'm ready. Yeah.
You like Iron Maiden?
I saw them live a few years ago.
Okay. Part 2 to the question. Do you like action figures?
Oh, I know what you're going to show me. I've seen those before. Very cool.
Yeah. So for the people out there who haven't seen, I received some more in the mail. These are the really rare ones. These are
Killers.
This is the Killers Eddie, the Blood Splatter edition. The regular retail version doesn't have blood, but what I bought are called blind boxes. And you buy these and you don't know which figure is inside. It could be any one of these. There's it says Killers Eddie, but that's actually the Made in Japan Eddie. And then you've got a bloodied up Trooper Eddie. Some other ones down there that we can't even see. And a couple more here. So you buy these, it's kind of like buying a pack of hockey cards. You don't know what you're getting inside. But I got the Blood Splatter Killers Eddie. I got Aces High Camouflage Eddie. And finally, the Stone Power Slave Eddie, where it looks like he's actually carved out of stone.
Very cool. Super 7, right?
Super 7, you got it. And then, because I'm a frickin' idiot, I went and bought a case of these. So I could get them all. And that is in the mail. A fool and his money, right? A fool and his money are soon parted. Let's see some comments here. That's interesting. 4-part Sabbath live radio broadcast CD. That's interesting. Buddy Chris Sarr says hello.
Hello.
And the details on the figures are quite cool, for sure. Mike, do you like Iron Maiden? Marco, no. Mike, thankfully, that alternate version of the broadcast did not happen. And yes, it is true. I am insuring Steve Harris's retirement package. I would hope Derek Riggs gets a cut on those. I would hope. We don't know. This is the problem. It's a question. Maybe Derek Riggs is watching, and you could tell us. What about Freddy? Kruger or Mercury? Would be my question to you, Rob.
Hey, my screen's a little dark, so I'm just going to grab a lamp.
Sounds good.
Right here. So I'll be right back.
Sounds good. And I can see that my co-host this evening, Uncle Meat, is trying to get connected. He's having some difficulty. Yeah, Panini hockey cards. That's exactly right. Like, except when you're a kid and you're buying hockey cards, they were what, like 25 cents, 50 cents a pack? These are like 17, 18 bucks a pack, US.
I don't have these good looks for nothing, you know?
Yeah, right. That's much better. I think Eric is trying to join us, but having some technical difficulties. So we may have to just be patient with Eric. So just so everybody, including Marco, is aware, we're going to be hitting him up with some questions tonight. He's not... well, he is appearing for free, but he's got to pay for it in answers. is the key. So we're going to be hitting them up with some questions, and if this segment is successful, this will be a regular feature anytime we have a new guest on. It's a new feature that we call Getting to Know You, the lightning round. And we'll see how it goes. We've never done it before.
I'm glad to be the guinea pig.
You are the guinea pig tonight. We have our questions. The idea is we're going to hit you up with some... I'm not going to say they're easy questions, but we're going to hit you up with some questions that can be answered quickly. And you must answer them quickly, or there will be consequences of some kind. We haven't thought this through fully. but it's not a lightning round if you don't answer them quickly. I used to have Eddie and Freddie in my locker in high school. That is only 50% correct. I did have Eddie in my locker. I had the Somewhere in Time Eddie, with, the stage version of Eddie that they would bring out on stage. I had a giant poster of him with Bruce Dickinson, but I did not have Freddie Mercury. Uncle Meat is having trouble connecting, I believe. It says I'm backstage. I don't know what that means. I've never seen that before. It says your devices aren't connected. It says you have to connect your microphone and yours. He was on with me like half an hour ago. It says you don't have a camera connected. I love it when we start with technical issues. Okay, that's a good question. Why don't we start with that while we wait for Eric? What does make someone a contrarian? Musically is...
Well, kind of the idea of the show was basically somebody thinks that a record that a band put out is their best record, but it's not general consensus. So I guess a good example of that, if we were going to go with Black Sabbath, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think general consensus would be Paranoid, because of things like objective things, like it sold the most. The songs from Paranoid are mostly in their live set list, are mostly from Paranoid, just for like a number of reasons. Like that would be the album that people would probably point to. So what makes somebody a contrarian musically would be somebody who goes against the grain, I guess. And we try not to do it just to do it. Like we try not to be contrarian just to be contrarian. We try to really believe in our hearts that the record we're championing is the one that we're putting at number one, just because we don't want to be disingenuous. That's why we've done episodes like bands you won't see on the Contrarians because we're not contrarian, things like that, right? So just you have a contrarian opinion.
I like that answer. That makes it very clear to me, especially when you use Paranoid as the example of the mainstream accepted general best album. Like, there's that book out, 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. And if you want to see the mainstream best albums by any band, by all means, buy that book. And you will hear a lot of great albums. No question. Nothing against Paranoid. But we're not talking about Paranoid tonight. Okay. It looks like Eric is ready to rock. I'm going to run the theme song, and then we will bring on Mr. Eric Litwiller, my co-host this evening, and we will get started. All right, welcome to the show, Marco. Let's roll.
one-way ticket to anywhere. And a glazed donut. To go.
Lebrain Train. Lebrain Train.
All aboard!
Hey!
Hello there. Hello there.
The
Marco,
Meat Man
how
is
are
with
you?
us.
Good. How are you?
Good. It's really good to see you. We had some good conversations about this little event, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's cool that it's here. I don't know what was happening there with the. I mean, I did nothing different when I tried the second time, so I don't know what the heck was going on with that.
Well, I do. It's because whenever we have a special guest, something has to go haywire.
Ah, there you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. I think I finished most of my beer waiting to try to get in, so I'm gonna have to probably get another one soon.
Well, you still made it in just under the wire. While we were waiting, I introduced Marco to the audience and talked a little bit about the lightning round.
Yeah,
And I think
did
he's
hear that.
prepared. He's prepared. He
I
understands.
think so. Hope so.
Yep. So Eric, basically, it's up to you and me. We can do this well, or it could be a total derailment.
Hey, Marco, I'm sorry that you're kind of a guinea pig right now,
That's okay.
but I think it'll go interesting. We'll see.
I'll
If
enjoy
this
it.
goes well, then maybe Andy Curran will be the next one to get the lightning round. You never know.
There you go.
Man, very true.
All right, well, let's roll it. Let's do the lightning round.
The Lebrain Train presents Lightning Round, Getting to Know You, with Marco the Contrarian.
Question number 1. Where were you born?
Canada, Oakville, Ontario.
First concert.
Kiss, 1998 Psycho Circus.
Favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh God, I have 3:
Do,
Macho Man Randy
do,
Savage,
do,
Dusty
do.
Rhodes, The American Dream, and Superstar Billy Graham. That's what I'm wearing the
Good
Superstar shirt today, just for you.
Good answer.
Holy
That's
shit.
a great answer. I gotta
Holy
say that's
shit.
awesome. Wow, love it. That is awesome. Favorite guitar player?
Ooh, there's so many guitar players that I like that I can't. They all have different styles. I don't know. I couldn't say. If I was gonna say something,
Okay,
I might
tell
say
you what.
something like Craig Goldie.
Pat. Oh, okay, you
there
got an
you go.
answer? Okay.
There you go. There you go.
Dream Evil, Dio.
Play any instruments?
I used to play guitar, and drums, but nothing serious.
Who is the most overrated band?
Oh my God, I hate to say anything like that.
That's fair.
There's a lot of
that's
there's
a fair
lot
answer.
of I think there's a lot of overrated bands, and I think there's a lot of really underrated bands. And unfortunately, there's a huge divide between the two. But I don't want to throw any bands under the
That's
bus.
interesting.
Okay.
I got that.
Burger King or McDonald's?
McDonald's, 100%.
Ooh. So the king goes under the bus.
There you go. Now you might answer this one because you're too nice of a guy to answer the first one. Most underrated band.
Most underrated band?
Yes.
So
There's a lot.
that was quick.
Okay, there's so many. Motley Crue, most overrated.
I think that's what he meant. I think that's what he meant. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes is a good. Yeah, Yes is great. But I think they're fairly rated because I think a lot of people know about them. I would probably pick maybe
fair.
Budgie. Maybe Budgie.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say that.
I
Good
say
answer.
that because there's a lot of people that are even musicians who I've seen comments online say things like, "Man, I just discovered Budgie, and I've been a musician my whole life, and I love this music." So that's an example off the top of my head.
I discovered
Neat.
Budgie thanks
and
to...
Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart. I think they're both geniuses.
Indeed.
I discovered Budgie thanks to a book called Riff Kills Man by a guy you know.
Yeah. There you
Question number 5. Sammy or Dave?
go. Dave. In Van Halen. Yeah.
Yep.
Favorite movie of all time?
Hard Times. Charles Bronson.
Ooh.
Wow. That's a great... Wow. It's interesting.
But I really like I like classic movies. I like On the Waterfront's up there too. I like RoboCop. I think is the best superhero movie ever made.
That's
Favorite TV show of all time?
Wow, that's awesome.
Favorite TV show? I don't know. Maybe something like The Simpsons. Maybe season 3 to season 8. I think every episode is perfect.
Okay.
That's good. Favorite Canadian band not named Rush?
Favorite Canadian band not named Rush? Mystique.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
There's another underrated one.
Oh, really?
Marvel or DC?
Yeah.
Marvel.
Okay. Favorite SCTV character?
I can't answer that. I never really watched SCTV. I'm familiar with it, but I didn't really watch it.
Okay.
Because it was on the Comedy Channel when I was a kid, and I think at the time a lot of that stuff just went over my head. But now that I'm older, it's not anywhere on TV, so it's, as far as I know, I haven't really seen it around. But
No, just
I
YouTube.
got you. Got you.
Would you rather ride a tiger or catch a rainbow?
ride a tiger.
Favorite drummer?
Favorite drummer? I'm gonna say, and like I love Peter Criss, and I met Peter Criss, and the only music tattoo. Actually, I have two music tattoos. I have a Peter Criss tattoo. It's the only Kiss tattoo I have. But for sentimental sake, I would say even Eric Carr, because I think he just seemed like such a sweetheart. So like even though like I love Peter, but I would put them almost tied, I think. But I grew up such a huge Kiss fan that like I would have to pick one of those two.
Cool. All right.
Favorite bassist?
Ooh, Billy Sheehan?
Ooh.
Interesting.
Just because I've seen him do solos on bass that look like a guitar solo. So that to me is just blows me away. But for other reasons, I might even pick Geezer because he was such a good lyricist too, right? So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great answers.
That's a good choice too.
Great answers.
Interestingly enough, favorite Kiss album?
Hotter Than Hell. Easy. It's one of the first two for sure. It's the first one. I like the second one a little bit more, but it's the first two.
Okay.
Favorite T-shirt that you own?
My favorite T-shirt ever was a T-shirt I had when I was a kid. I got from the flea market, and it was a picture of Kiss in Japan, and they had the kimonos, and they all had their hands up in the air, and it was illustrated. And I literally wore it until it fell off of me, like it fell apart off of me. And my mom hated it. She hated that I would go to, because I went to Catholic school, and she thought for some reason Kiss was satanic, which is ridiculous. But
I got my own stories about Catholic school and satanic Kiss.
Indeed. And last meal on death row?
Oh man, maybe a can of olives? I don't know.
Wow, you really like olives.
Olives are awesome. Yeah, that's fucking
A
funny.
Follow-up question. Black or green? Oh no, did we freeze? Oh shit. Something's wrong. Marco's frozen.
Another one.
Marco's frozen. I'm not sure what's happening.
Marco is he's freezing.
He's freezing. At least he's smiling while he's frozen.
Yeah, it's a good shot of him.
Well, we at least got the lightning round done before he froze, and apparently Chris thought that the lightning round was good.
Hey, it's a new thing that we tried. It's certainly interesting.
Marco, if you can hear me, you might have to disconnect and try to reconnect. The ironic thing is that we rarely have these many problems.
I know. There's been like none for weeks and weeks.
I know. I
Very odd.
I hope this isn't true. But Marco, if you can hear me, hello. Yeah. Okay. So he's disconnected. Hopefully he reconnects.
I'm just messaging him.
Yeah. We never have these kind of problems. Maybe.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we blame T-Bone. As soon as
Yeah, I know, and it's been like, like different people connecting, like a Judson Fraser, a Frank. It's like, and there was nothing.
Heck, we had 10 people on one time.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah, so you just never know.
No. I always worry that it's on my side, but I don't. I mean, you're still seeing me. You're still hearing me.
Yeah, there was one day where you were saying that my sound was going in and out, and to me it was fine. So you just never know with these things.
He's back. Hopefully, there we go. He's back.
Hey, I'm on my phone. I'm on data just because my internet's down. I live on a farm, so we don't have internet cable here. So it's like we get our internet like Wi-Fi from like a tower. So like a lot of times, but I'm on data. Hopefully this will work. I'll keep trying to refresh.
Jeez, I hope we're not breaking the bank here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't do this, that's cool. But I don't want you to be breaking the bank on my account.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Marco is so badass that he's affecting the power source. We'll go with that as the answer.
Lana, yeah, there you go.
Well, all things considered, that wasn't a bad lightning round.
Yeah, it was something different just to see, and
that was fun.
Do you want to?
Yeah,
Eric, do you want me to start just regular style interview questions at this point without the timer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Marco,
yeah, no timer.
My first question is probably the most obvious one, so let's get it out of the way right away. How did you hook up with my idol Martin to be doing this awesome show that you guys do? I mean, I watched his little intro blurb there, and he's like, me and some pals. Like, how do you get to be Martin's pal?
Well, it's interesting because my relationship with Martin started, I think, over 20 years ago. Started a long time ago. So my uncle was a vocalist, and he was in a few bands in the 80s and 90s. And a couple of the bands that he was in, actually, they didn't make it. They were independent bands, but they had put out vinyls and stuff like this that now are very collectible and sought after and are worth a lot of money. So actually, this is the CD copy. I'd mentioned the band Mystique.
Okay.
Marco was the vocalist of this band. And back growing up, I was just obsessed with finding anything out about Mystique. I used to go on the internet. I used to like look up, used to Google search or Yahoo search stuff back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Back then there wasn't much. I would track down people in forums would kind of mention stuff on like their vinyl want list would just mention like Mystique, Black Rider and stuff like this. And I would start connecting with people and saying like, hey, how'd you find out about this band? Along the way, somebody had mentioned to me that they had found it in a book that was written by Martin Popoff. So I ended up emailing him back when I was a kid. I was like in grade 7 or 8. And I sent him an email and asked him about it. And he actually responded to me. He told me that a friend that collected records and all kinds of things. He told me the whole story about how he knew about the band and like other bands. And the book, the Vinyl Collector's Price Guide that he had put out had Mystique in it. Fast forward, maybe this is like 2017. I started working on a documentary film about the band Mystique. And I just remember thinking like I had connected with Martin before in the past. Maybe he might want to do an interview. So, long story short, I sent him an email, asked him if he was interested in doing an interview because he lives in Toronto. I live in the GTA. And he got back to me right away. And he was the first interview I did for that Mystique documentary, which is pretty much shot and in the can. Like it's almost,
wow.
complete.
That's
Just
cool.
waiting for things to cool down with like the pandemic and everything before he put it out. So we went. Sorry, I know this is long-winded. So he wrote.
Well,
a
this is
couple
the
of books.
long-winded
Go
part.
on.
This isn't the lightning round. This is the slow round.
Yeah, definitely.
But he had actually he had done a written review of Mystique Black Rider in one of his books, the heavy metal 80s collector's guide, where he reviewed all the albums he put in the vinyl price guide. So he had done a couple of books and put Mystique in them. And I went to go interview him, and it was awesome. It was like an hour and a half. The interview was like an hour and a half long. Talked about all kinds of stuff, Mystique, record collecting, all kinds of things. That's when I met him. When I got home that night, I think I just sent him an email to say, hey, thanks again. Really appreciated that. And then he just asked me if I'd be interested in maybe having a phone call, because he thought that me and my little crew were professional. We're very professional. And he thought maybe I might be interested in wanting to do something with him. And that's how the Contrarian started. So we had a couple of phone calls. He came up with the idea because of he used to do a show called Locked Horns on Banger TV. And I guess he was kind of known as like the Contrarian. And I think that's there's a episode they did where they talked about the Sabbath albums, and that's where he championed Sabotage. So he kind of said, why don't we run with this Contrarians thing and try to do something a little bit different? Because a lot of people review albums and a lot, stuff like this, right? But he wanted to maybe have a different spin on it. So that's kind of how that started. And that was 2018 is when we first started doing the Contrarians.
Check that out. Brian just looked up Mystique Black Rider, medium price, $377 on Discogs.
Wow.
Valuable, yeah. I have a couple.
So when this documentary comes through, will you come back and we can talk about it?
100%. Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll look forward to that. That'll be a must. That will be a must.
That'd be awesome.
Well, you anticipated one of Eric's questions. Eric was going to ask you how the Contrarians thing started, so you took care of two questions.
And I'm curious too, because you had said you and your crew. I have noticed that there's other people that are. There's at least one other person who's been on more than once. Like, what is the situation with that? And is there like a bunch of people that you do it with, or?
Yeah. So initially, it started my crew is helping me put together this documentary. Consists of another gentleman who's never done an episode, Aaron. He's my director of photography. So he's the one who helped me film all the interviews. And he has a bachelor's of film and television. I met him in school when we were both in a media program. And he helps me with everything. He's doing all the graphics. He did all the photography for me and all this stuff. So he was around just in the beginning. He did our first couple of graphics for our intros. And he came and shot the first few episodes that we did when we're standing up and we're not doing it over Zoom before the pandemic. Since then, he's busy with all kinds of stuff. So he still is working with me very closely on the documentary. But he's kind of stepped away from the Contrarians thing was never really something that he was super involved with. Although he helped out. Like if you look at the first intro that we had from season 1 and the intro that we had from season 2, that's him. My other buddy, Nick, who he went to school at Metalworks. So he's an audio. He works in audio and video. So he was my audio guy for the documentary. And he's a music fan, right? Whereas Aaron is more like movies and stuff like this. He's not really interested in especially classic rock and metal bands. He's more into new stuff for music. Nick is into all kinds of different music. So he's a partner of the three of us. There are three of us. Lately, he's been super tied up with work. He's a manager at an audio and visual. It's an audio visual business, and he's a manager there. And he's been super tied up. He actually designed our latest intro, the one where you see the last couple episodes. That he designed that. Yeah. He did our theme song. He was in a bunch of episodes. He will come back soon, hopefully. Once he gets more time freed up, he'll be more a part of regular hosting duties. And then another guy, Graham, was doing a lot of research for us in the early days. But he's still around. Graham's still a friend of mine. We'll talk to him. But it's mostly turned into me and Martin.
I see. I saw that you recently had someone on that I guess Mike knows.
Yeah.
Tim?
Tim, yeah, from Tim's Vinyl Confessions. Yeah, so
And actually, I was talking to Tim earlier today, and I'm going to have Tim on at some point, and he's going to have me on his show at some point. So it's like one big happy family. I'm very, very glad to have met everybody through this wonderful community.
Very
That's cool.
And that's kind of what happened with, I think Martin was on his show, and then we ended up doing a guest spot on our show with him, and then I might go on his show. So we, like you said, it's a community. We follow each other on social media. We share each other stuff.
And it's a lot of fun, very inspiring.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I've watched one of your shows and said, damn, I wish I thought of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun too. Like I've been able to be on the show here twice with Martin, and I mean, quite obviously, he's just very chill, and I'm sure that that went well as a kid to for him to actually show that he cared about what's something that you cared about young. Like that's totally cool.
At the time, yeah, absolutely. I was blown away. I didn't, I was just a kid, right? And that doesn't happen. Sometimes, you reach out to somebody and you never hear from them, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
That was super cool. I remember, because my uncle was like my hero. So I remember running up to my uncle and being like, oh, your band's in a book and your band's this and this and that. My uncle was always super cool about that stuff. Because, I think sometimes people they get older and they might have an attitude of like, oh, yeah, I was in bands a long time ago. It doesn't matter, whatever. My uncle was always super cool about it. I would basically tug on his shirt and ask him 1,000 questions. And I'd go over to his place and for hours. And he was just really cool about it, always answering all my questions. So, he was always super cool about it, about me asking him about bands that he was in and stuff. So,
Is he responsible for your love of music today?
Partially, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. My aunt was a Kiss fanatic growing up. She had stacks of magazines. She had all the vinyls. She had cassettes. She had... So when I was a kid, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, she gave me Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park on VHS. And I think that brainwashed, because I watched that tape until that tape fell apart. And I started buying Kiss records when I was like 10 years old, and I went to Psycho Circus when I was 10 years old and stuff like that. So she had a big influence on me that way. And then when I was a kid, it was only Kiss, like nothing else, no Beatles, nothing else mattered except for Kiss. Then when I discovered Mystique, I remember being at my grandparents' house, and my uncle had an office in my grandparents' basement. Even when he moved out, his old office was still there. And I would go through his things, and he had like a Commodore Amiga in there, and he had some cool stuff. And he had like some old cassettes, and I remember digging out some Mystique stuff and taking it home and listening to it. And I remember quite enjoying it quite a lot, and realizing like, what, there's other music other than just Kiss. And that's when I really started being like, okay, well then maybe there's even other music like Led Zeppelin and AC/DC. I started getting into that when I was like grade 7, grade 8. And then I started realizing there was other bands out there. So that's kind of, it started with my aunt, and then it exploded with when I discovered Mystique.
Wow.
Brian wants to know, I guess he's on Discogs right now. He wants to know if you have the cassette, I Am the King.
I have 2 Black Riders, one of them sealed.
Wow.
I have 1 I Am the King cassette, and I have 2 45s. And I have the original poster, and I've got 3 Mystique t-shirts that they actually sold in concerts. I've got a bunch of shit. It's only because I'm related to my uncle, right?
Right.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to swear or not, but...
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
My mom doesn't care.
If I wasn't related to my uncle, I don't have anything. But because I know him and I know people that are involved with the band, I've had access to things that a lot of people normally wouldn't.
Huh.
That's
so if you can tell us one thing about... go on, sorry.
I was just going to say buttons, ticket stubs, stickers, they had all kinds of merchandise.
Oh, wow. Cool. So I'm curious, if you can tell us, like, and everyone else, like, one thing about the band Mystique that you think that we should know to kind of drum up interest for, someone to wanting to watch the movie.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the documentary "Searching for Sugar Man." It was about a musician. It was about a musician who never became famous. He put out like one record back in the 70s, and he just kind of disappeared. And this record overseas became very popular, like I think in South Africa. Sorry,
South Africa. Yeah.
South Africa. And they end up finding him eventually, and his record was huge over there. It's similar to that. They had put out a few recordings that at the time they didn't make it big. But over the years, the records started gaining interest through tape traders and record collectors and fans of metal. It's a niche thing. But I mean, what's really interesting about it is that this is a local, from where I'm from, a local Hamilton band, put something out back in the 80s that now people from all over the world are searching for. I used to trade tape back when I was a kid. I used to trade tapes with folks from Norway, Sweden, California, like all over the world. People who were interested in Mystique. I would track them down and say, I can't sell you the vinyl, but if you're interested in the music, I can send you the tape. And I would start sending people, and I would put Black Rider on one side and I Am the King on the other side of a tape. And I would do this in my basement when I was like in grade 7, grade 8. And I met people from all over the world doing that. I did that for a little bit, but it's just interesting that this record didn't propel them to stardom back then, but somewhere along the way, people started finding an interest in them. And I just think that's really cool. And I wanted to document that. So it's the story of the band, and it talks about, and Martin Popoff was a great expert to talk to. Why did this record all of a sudden start becoming popular, and why are people seeking it out and stuff like this? So if you're interested in metal, if you're interested in music, if you're interested in record collecting, I think you would be interested in, especially if you're a fan of Mystique or Canadian music, you might be interested in this document. They were like a proto-progressive power metal band. So if that's the kind of thing you like, Iron Maiden, Deep Purple, that type of music, then you'll probably like Mystique or find something interesting about them.
Oh, well, it's certainly the kind of thing I like. So,
Brian is obviously intrigued because he keeps looking them up on Discogs, and apparently there's a 2017 reissue in Greece.
Yeah, that's the CD. I also have the vinyl version of it. Does he get royalties? I think they're sold out of it on the Eat Metal Records website. I can't talk too much. I don't know too much about the deal that he made, but he made a deal, and I think he got paid for it. But I don't know if he gets royalties from it. He used to get royalties. I've seen royalty checks from songs that they wrote.
That's cool.
Performance royalties.
Never seen a royalty check in my life. And I agree. I think Brian is stalking Marco's record collection. I haven't been putting all the comments on screen, but earlier Brian wanted to know your address for no reason. So I think he's very, very... I will stop by Marco's on my way to Deeks to get his t-shirts. So yeah, I think at this point maybe you might want to go into witness protection. And I apologize if anything happens to your collection. I apologize in advance. But obviously you've hit a nerve with some people here that are interested in that kind of thing, obscure metal, especially Canadian.
Yeah, if anybody is really interested, I went to the Burlington. It wasn't the Antiques Roadshow. It was a knockoff. It was like the Antiques Home. And I brought my Mystique. I brought a chunk of my Mystique collection: T-shirts, handwritten lyrics, ticket stubs, vinyls, and the poster and flyers, everything. And I filmed it and I put a video on YouTube. And I think the gentleman there, he valued it at $2,500 American for the stuff that I had brought. So if anybody's interested, the video does exist on YouTube, and it's under the Mystique Film YouTube channel, where you'll see the trailer and you'll see some rare live recordings and stuff like that are on there as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Mystique Film YouTube channel.
Yes, correct.
Got it.
Cool.
Okay, so everybody, that's what you look for. That's awesome. I can't... definitely, we've got some weekend entertainment already lined up here after the show. That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So his band, like in the area, like did they play any shows with any recognizable names or anything? Like,
yeah. So my uncles work across all of his bands, not just Mystique. My uncle's worked with Steve Negus, produced one of his records in a band he was in called Stir of Echoes. Steve Negus from Saga.
Yeah.
My uncle played shows with guys like Kim Mitchell. My uncle's band Slam Glory opened for Slick Toxic.
Wait, hold on. Slam Glory?
Yeah.
He was in Slam Glory?
He's the vocalist of Slam Glory, yeah.
Where's my copy of Raw Meat? I have his song. I have Slam Glory. I love Slam Glory.
That's awesome. That's
Hang
very
on, I'm going to go into... I don't have the CD near me, but I'm just going to go into my music folder real
Raw
quick
Meat
here.
3. Yeah, I have that too, and I have all the magazines too that they were in.
Raw Meat, I think that was volume 3.
Volume
Slam
3.
Glory,
Wow.
say it like you mean it.
Yeah.
Say it. I love that song. I freaking love that song.
They put out they had a whole 8-track cassette, and they also did some demos. They did another couple of cassettes that had 3 songs each on them. So they had a bunch of stuff. And there's
Wow.
live
That's
stuff on
cool.
YouTube of Slam Glory. There's all kinds of Slam Glory stuff on the internet. And they put out a 20th anniversary too. That had some bonus tracks and stuff. A 20th anniversary CD.
Dude, like you're sending me to Discogs as soon as I'm done here. Like, okay, I'm just gonna say something real quick for a minute.
Sorry,
Every
go ahead.
single guest I've ever had on the show costs me money.
I apologize.
I wish I
Way
could
go.
quickly locate my copy of Raw Meat 3 so I could go look up your uncle's picture, because I know they put pictures of
all
every
that-
band inside.
I've got all
And
that stuff.
There's also the issue of Meat Magazine with Extreme on the front cover. That was a Raw Meat 3 special, and there was like a half-page article on each and every band that was on Raw Meat 3. So there's an article about your uncle that I can read later on, because I have that issue.
They were in a few issues. I have
Jeez.
almost all of them, I think.
It's one of those things. It's such a small world.
Yeah,
It's
that's
just-
awesome.
Peak was in a hard rock magazine in Europe too, that had, I think, Iron Maiden or Judas Priest on the cover, because they recorded "I Am the King" in France under a deal with Elektra Records. So they actually went to Europe, and they actually had a following in Europe. Mystique.
Wow.
What's your uncle's first name?
Ray Doria.
Ray Doria. That name is so familiar. I'm certain I've read it in the credits. Wow.
They also, Stir of Echoes, another band he was in, opened for Moxie when Russ Dwarf was the singer for Moxie.
Yeah, maybe a decade ago.
Like 2007 or 8-ish, Russ Dwarf sang for them briefly, and I actually went to that. There's a number of other ones, famous people that he knew or played with, for sure.
Chris is wondering if there's anywhere you can listen to Mystique. I would assume that Mystique, the YouTube channel. The
Yeah,
Mystique
you can
film?
go on.
Yep.
Yeah, same with
Okay, there
Slam
you go,
Glory,
Chris.
Stir of Echoes, they're all on YouTube.
Jeez, I am like, I'm kind of like blown away right now by this little connection here. 'Cause it's been a long time that I've loved that song, "Say It Like You Mean It." Like, it's so good.
Yeah, and that cassette is valuable too. I've only ever seen it online once on betterontape.com, and it's sold for $250 American. That 8-track cassette. And I have one of those, I have 2 of those too, actually. But again, I only have it because I'm related to the musician in the band, right?
Yeah. Wow. I'm a little kind of like starstruck a little bit here.
That's
Sorry,
cool.
Meat. You gotta take over for a minute while I get my bearings back. Get my bearings straight.
He's lost his bearings. So now I gotta ask this. So superstar Billy Graham. What is your kind of wrestling background? And I'm now curious because that's like a kind of a contrarian answer. So I'm curious now.
I have enough. I have enough cable that I can look for that CD while we talk.
I know where it is, actually. I just grew up just a wrestling fan when I was a kid, like WWF, WCW, and I was just interested in it as a kid. And I started digging it when I got a little bit older, like the history of it. I started. I have a Dusty Rhodes book here, Bruiser Brody book.
Oh, that's cool.
I used to go to my local video store, and I was about 10 in the late 90s. So I was 10. I was born in '88. So in the late 90s, when WCW and WWF had the big Monday Night War, I was around for that. And I used to go to my local video store, and I used to rent like old cassettes, like Royal Rumble 1991, Royal Rumble 1992, Survivor Series 1990, stuff like that, right? So I just dug it as a kid. And then as I got older, I appreciated the history of it, the territory system and all of that stuff, and Terry Funk, and all the old wrestlers. There's some really cool stuff on YouTube. I don't remember the channel. I want to plug them because they have a really cool channel where they do a in-depth documentary on every territory.
Oh, I've seen some of those. I have seen some of those, and there's some good stuff on there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Canadian stuff. I've met a bunch.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Right on.
Yeah. Most famous wrestlers I've met off the top of my head would be like Roddy Piper, Sting, Bret Hart, just off the top of my head.
Piper.
I met I shook Kevin Nash's hand in a pizza. Of
course you did.
Because I went to see Nitro in Kitchener. The only time that it was at the time, and I got to see Mr. Kevin Nash in there. It was cool.
I found my raw meat 1, but not my 3. This will have to be followed up at a later date, but I'm still blown away. Eric, when do you want to start the Black Sabbath lists?
I think that's probably right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you ready, Marco?
Okay. Are we doing that first or the Born Again?
I want to do the list first before we go into Born Again.
Okay. That's cool.
So Marco, just this is your first Nigel Tufnell top 10. We just go in a circle, starting at number 11 and counting our way down to number 1. And that's it.
I got my list right here.
Awesome. All right. If everybody is ready, then let us do the Nigel Tufnell top 10 Black Sabbath songs.
Nigel Tufnell. The top 10. Nigel Tufnell. The top 10. Nigel Tufnell. Oh, these ones go to 11. Nigel Tufnell. The top 10. Nigel Tufnell. Nigel Tufnell.
All right.
I swear that T-Bone is kind of like the Paul Schaefer of YouTube now.
He's my Paul Schaefer. This is fantastic. I'll be sad when him and Deke, when they eventually do their own thing, which it is happening, by the way. But I'll start. And I struggled. I struggled with this list, and I wanted to do my usual thing that I do, where I put in a... Oh, geez, we have 2 Marcos with us now.
That's me, yeah. I'm trying with my Wi-Fi again.
Do you want me to try? Do you want me to add you?
Yeah, if you can. Let's see if that works. If not, I'll just jump back on my phone.
Okay.
Back.
Okay, great.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm not going to do my usual thing that I do, where I fucking throw in songs that you've never heard of because they aren't on albums. I usually do that shit, but I decided to take this just a little bit more seriously than we usually do because we have a serious guest tonight. So none of my songs are obscure. Usually I would throw in like fucking Scary Dreams, which was only ever played live, or Junior's Eyes sung by the guy Dave Walker, one of those songs. And I do genuinely like them. And I played both of those songs today. But when it came down to it, I could not justify putting them in my Nigel Tufnell top 10 because they're just not qualified. So this is a straight, very, very straight Nigel Tufnell top 10 for me. Having said that, I'm starting with one of the underappreciated songs, I think. From 1987's The Eternal Idol album, I gotta give props to The Shining. I love that song, The Shining. And that's my number 11. Gotta give it some props.
Wow.
Harrison, look at Harrison there. He dropped the name of Black Sabbath bonus track in this comment. What's the use? Which is the bonus track from Cross Purposes, the Japanese version. Good one, Harrison.
Wow. Okay. Now that's an interesting choice. I myself, well, I'll be perfectly honest. I have nothing but Dio and Ozzy in my list. And at the same time, I also have very little of the usual ones that people would pick. And it's not necessary. I mean, it's half that just that I've heard a lot of them for a long time. And it's also that you know, I kind of looked at this list of like, what do I really love to listen to now by Black Sabbath? Which is different than what it was, you know, 15 years ago or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah, you're an old fuck now.
Yeah, I'm an old fuck. And a curmudgeon. So yeah. So my number 11 is going to be from Mob Rules, and it is the greatest 4-count in the history of metal, in my opinion. With it's Turn Up the Night. I love Turn Up the Night. I've always loved the song. I just find it just a perfect start to an album, and some of the best sounding bass work I've ever heard in my life. So there it is, my number 11.
Beautiful.
Love
That's
it.
a great number 11.
Yeah, I like the too. It reminds me of Heaven and Hell mixed with hair metal for some reason. Whenever I hear that album, I have interesting opinions about that album, but I like Eternal Idol. But most of my list is Ozzy. I'm like 70s Black Sabbath all the way. I have one Dio track and one Born Again track on there, but my top 3 is very uncontrarian, but the rest of my list is pretty contrarian, or at least pretty off the wall. I have a couple of ones that didn't make the list, but my number 11, and I switched some of these around right up until yesterday. I think I was switching stuff around, but my number 11 actually comes from Born Again, and it's Disturbing the Priest. And my note here that I put is I thought it was very dark, very heavy from Born Again, which overall I think is the most haunting and ominous sounding of Sabbath records, at least atmospherically, and the delivery of the production and the song structures. But that's probably my favorite representation for Born Again, along with Trashed. But I just think Disturbing the Priest, what I like about it is it reminds me of Sabbath, but it doesn't sound like other Sabbath. It's very heavy and very like brooding, and I like Disturbing the Priest. It's kind of haunted. It's almost, that album almost scares me the most out of any Sabbath record, I think.
Okay, so just a quick heads up. You've echoed a lot of my notes that I've written for that album later on. So we will definitely be delving deeper into what you just said.
That's very
I'm
interesting.
100% on board with everything that you just said.
And it's funny because that song is probably the heaviest song of the album. Like when it comes right down to it.
Let's table that, because we are getting into territory that we're going to discuss soon.
Yes, that's true.
Harrison is calling you an amateur because he'd have a song from every single singer. Well, Harrison, my list will make you a little happier then. I don't have every singer, but I have a lot of them.
Well, but I'm an amateur. I'm a Dio and Ozzy guy, and that's how it is.
You are totally an amateur, apparently, according to Harrison.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 10 is not at all contrarian, but I do love that first album, and I had to pick one tune from it because that first album is so damn epic. And when I boiled it all down, I settled on The Wizard. Who doesn't love the harmonica?
Yeah.
It's just a great groove. It's so organic. A lot of the early Sabbath stuff, what I really love about it is Geezer's slinky bass. And there's a lot of that slinky bass on The Wizard. You can really hear it. So that's my number 10 from album number 1, The Wizard.
Great song.
Oh, and Harrison clarifies he was calling Marco an amateur. Way to treat the guest. Way to treat the guest.
That's not very nice.
That's not very nice. And Lana half-heartedly listened to Mob Rules while doing work this past Saturday, and it's a great record. We'll be talking more about Mob Rules, guaranteed.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, over to you, Eric.
My number 10 could not be more contrarian when it comes to people's opinions. But I did recently watch the Pop-Off and Marco talk about Sabotage being Pop-Off's favorite album. Well, my number 10 is Megalomania. Now, and there are reasons for this. I mean, and it's kind of similar to what Martin was saying during their, like that is not dummy rock. It's very constructed in an odd way and a very different way, and really a lot of bands didn't try this kind of thing to be that ballsy. And I just find the Megalomania is I think it's their longest song too. I mean, I love prog, and I'm always going to love prog, so I like the mix of the heavy and prog, and that's my number 10, Megalomania.
Very cool.
That is a great.
My number 10 is also from Sabotage, and I think it might be the only song from Sabotage on my list. But I put "Thrill of It All" at number 10,
That's
just
my
because
favorite.
I think the opening guitar is one of the coolest guitar licks like ever. And I think the main guitar riff is one of the coolest guitar riffs ever. Not so much but just for its just real cool factor. And I like the lyrics, and I like the story, and I like Ozzy's performance. And that's probably my favorite track from Sabotage.
Well, again, that's another thing that Martin was saying in that episode, is that it might be Ozzy's best vocals ever on that album. It's just constantly high reaching, and he sounds great on it. And that's another great example of a great song on that album. Indeed.
Yeah, you're hitting on some of my favorite riffs here. Harrison does say that he took this in jest. His comment is in jest, so we forgive Harrison. And just a quick aside here. Lana thinks that we should have Marco and Harrison on the show to battle it out who's the ultimate contrarian, because this fellow is a contrarian. He is our contrarian. He is a Tony Martin fanatic. And that would be fun to do at some point. We decided not to this time just because 4 people doing a list can take a lot of time. Because I frickin' yammer on.
Well,
But
the
having said
real
that-
contrarian, right up your alley, Mike. You could have picked something from the Ray Gillen version of Eternal Idol, the one that was never released.
Again, I was thinking about including Ray because I wanted to include every singer, but then I had to cut something really, really truthfully better, you know? But I tried. I really did try.
Didn't Ray Gillen become a preacher?
No. Ray Gillen died of
He
AIDS.
passed away a long time ago.
Oh, okay. No, it's a different guy I'm thinking about that.
Definitely a different guy.
Yeah, different guy I'm thinking about.
My number 9 is a track that goes way, way back with me. I'm of the age where a lot of my music originally came from Columbia House. And 1 month in 1990, their selection of the month was We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll. And I decided to grab it because it would cover a huge chunk of albums that I didn't have. And I heard this song, Sweet Leaf, and I had no idea what it was about at all. I thought it was maybe about a girl named Leaf, because that is a girl's name. And here I am singing Sweet Leaf at work. I was working at a grocery store, and people must have thought I was some kind of crazy pothead, and I had no idea. But it was the riff. It was the riff that did it, and to this day, I still love that riff. So my number 9 is Sweet Leaf.
Classic tune. Okay, my number 9, eh? My number 9 comes from the very first album, and it's always been my favorite song on the very first album. And it is "Behind the Wall of Sleep," which I just absolutely love the song. I love the bass on it again. Like, just everything about that. Like, it always blows my mind when I read about like how quickly that album was recorded, and that album especially, I think, even shows the brilliance of Bill Ward. It's just a lot of swing, jazzy drumming, especially on that album. And my number 9 is "Behind the Wall of Sleep," and I absolutely love it.
Perfect.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I had to cut a song from the first record off, but one of my honorable mentions was "Warning." But I really like "Behind the Wall of Sleep" too. But that was one of my honorable mentions, because I love Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation. I love the Ainsley Dunbar Retaliation version. I love the Black Sabbath version. I love Zappa and all of that stuff. But my number 9 is Johnny Blade. I really like the key. I really like the keys that in the beginning that make it sound like Phantom of the Opera. I think that's just really cool. I love the driving guitar and drums. I really like that it makes me think the song was programmed by a computer. Like if you put into a computer, if you told a computer to create like a Black Sabbath song, that sounds like it because it's like electronical to me. Like I just have this weird thing with that song where I feel like it's like, like what deep fake. It's like a deep fake Black Sabbath song. They just took all these elements of Black Sabbath and made it. It's not quite Black Sabbath, but it's a little electronical, and it's. I just think I really like that song a lot. I like the progression in it. Yeah, I just think it's really cool. I like the lyrics, everything.
If I remember correctly, that song does have like a programmed keyboard riff, doesn't it? Like doom, doom. Is that the?
I'm not sure if that's programmed, but
It's fast.
Yeah, if you listen to the doomy part of the guitar, when Ozzy starts singing about Johnny being a spider and stuff like that, listen to that riff. That could have come off of Master Reality. That riff that could have fueled an entire song, just that one part. So
Yeah.
I really like Johnny Blade, and I like a lot of stuff from Never Say Die and Technical Ecstasy.
Me too. Man, you're making
That's
my
cool.
list look really, really straight laced.
Well, wait, my top 3 is like no surprises really. I don't think, but
I'll go with my number 8. You know what? I was watching a Contrarians episode, and Martin mentioned Children of the Sea, and at that point, I decided that Children of the Sea was going to be on my list over some of the other Dio era songs. And I can remember when I first got Heaven and Hell. It was '95, and I was like, how has it taken me so long to get an album this good? And I heard Children of the Sea, and I was like, again, how have I gone this long without hearing this song? And something about the acoustic guitar at the beginning, the riff, even some of those keyboards, the haunting keyboards in the middle. Man, is that a perfect song or what? So Children of the Sea, my number 8.
Awesome song. Love it very much.
Thank you.
Okay, number 8. My number 8, from what I saw today, some comments that Marco made on the episode that I watched, I might be taking something that's coming up for him. Because my number 8 is from the Paranoid album, and it is probably the first Black Sabbath song that I really, really like. It opened my eyes to how amazing they were, and it's Hand of Doom.
Oh.
I had a huge enlightenment when I was young about this album, going, holy, I can't believe how great this song is. And it's still one of my favorite songs by them. So, number 8, Hand of Doom.
very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I interestingly enough, I believe that is the song that taught me the word funeral pyre, which I used in a grade 9 history test. I think it was Hand
Really?
of Doom. I think that's the one where he talks about a funeral pyre.
I think I learned that long before from Jim Morrison, actually.
Well, you were ahead of me
Yeah,
in that regard.
Light My Fire.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
Funeral Pyre. Wasn't that from Electric?
Oh, Electric Funeral. You're right. I always get those two songs mixed up in my head.
Holy shit, yeah, it was. I didn't even think about that.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
It was.
listen to his vocals on that one. I think that's one of his
Badass.
best vocal performances.
Yeah.
It's
But,
very good. Very good.
So a lot of my list, I think you could switch around. Even some of my honorable mentions, you could switch around too. And like looking at my list, I kind of want to switch my number 8 with number 7, but I'm just going to go with it anyways. But my number 8 is Killing Yourself to Live. And I just think that's just an excellent combination of riff, lyrics, melody, bass line, twangy guitar that I call the Road Rash effect, if anybody knows what Road Rash or Psychogenesis is. But just everything really works. It's proggy, it's cool, and it's like classic Sabbath, but it also reminds me of Volume 4 a little bit. And Volume 4 might be my favorite Black Sabbath record. So it has a little bit of that going for it too. But I like Killing Yourself to Live is just an excellent track for me.
Have you acquired
Yeah,
that new
that's
Volume
great.
4 box set?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. I got it over here. I haven't opened it yet. I'm saving it
Nice.
for the rainy day.
Very
Oh,
cool.
that's great. Killing Yourself to Live. The first time I ever heard that was on Live at Last. Yeah, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Live at Last was recorded on the Volume 4 tour. But Killing Yourself to Live is on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, right? Do I have that correct?
Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is Killing Yourself to Live. That's correct.
Right. So
Yes,
when
it
they
is.
played it on the Volume 4 tour, which is what Live at Last was, they must have that must have been like a new song that they were playing on that tour.
Yeah, could have been.
I hope I have all this
That's
correct. Harrison is the expert. He called me out. There was Electric Funeral. He called me out. He knew. Oh, and
Hey, Mike.
just,
Mike, is it possible to take a 5-minute break?
heck
Possible?
yeah. Yeah, so
Just-
we're
yeah,
at. Let me just.
I'm very sorry.
No, I'll brew
Right
another
number,
coffee.
We're number 7 now.
We're at number 7. Okay, so what I'll
Okay.
do, why don't we just to give us all a little time to refresh our drinks or whatever, why don't I just play a quick song, and then we'll come back after the song.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
I'll just play, I'll play one of T-Bone's greatest hits. This is Rockin' a Rubber by Kurt River, T-Bone Erickson. We'll be back in a few.
Oh, you could hear the music from on top of the hill. Old Jack was rocking and so was Jill. But he didn't know she wasn't dressed to kill. And when the last song ended, Jack felt ill. The dog says you gotta get some fizzle chicken. The old limp shrimp took a mean shit kicking. Rule number 1, a full dog dick. Don't put the buck in the net without some tape on your stick. Now the girl can still come. I knock, knock, knocking, and Jack still gets the jukebox rocking. But he don't dance now unless she's covered in safety first. He's rocking in a rubber. Well, little boy blue, he was making time with the lady in red and a bottle of wine. She said, dear boy, you're doing just fine, but don't pop the cork now before it's time. And poor old blue, he woke up in bed with an ache in his shorts and an ache in his head. The doctor quoted him rule number 2, don't put the ball in the pocket before talking to you. Now he learned his lesson lying down, and now old blue, he won't mess around. He don't want to risk a fatal blunder. He comes prepared, rocking and rolling. What's that? Rocking in a way. And for all you boys in a rockin' band, let the good doctor lend a hand. You can't forget old rule number 3. You don't peel your banana before it's out of the tree. Oh, the girls will be wild when the show is over. You'll be feeling as lucky as a 4-leaf clover. But without your skins, you ain't the drummer. So don't miss a beat. Rockin' in the rubber.
That was great. That was Mr. T-Bone Erickson. I'll put some comments on the screen while we wait for our guest's return. Oh, boy. Yeah, so Dirty Women is an underappreciated tune. That one's from Technical Ecstasy. And that's an album I like quite a lot. It's Technical Ecstasy. So, yeah, you got my support there. That's true. Paranoid was going to be called War Pigs. That's why there's a soldier on the cover. Ha! Ha. Ha.
T-Bone.
Ha. Yeah, he noticed I wasn't taking requests this time. And Lana, hope we see you come back soon. And we have Marco back.
That was a quick
T-Bone is
break.
being
I had
Yeah, that
to
was
go
a
grab something.
sausage.
I should have picked a longer song.
Oh,
Oh, there it is! Yep, there it is.
hey,
Volume
that's
3.
awesome.
Yep,
And that's the 20th.
I gotta get me that.
And then I grabbed the original cassette.
Wow.
And then I have some demo stuff too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've got. If you guys like stuff like this, I got tons of stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah, when Brian ends up stopping by your place to pick up the Mystique albums, I'm going to get him to pick up those Slam Glories as well. So, Brian, your heist is it's a go.
I want to share this with you too. So to promote the movie, we've done some giveaways for these autographed 8x10s from John and Ray when they went to Europe to record the I'm the King. And I have a few if you give them away to some of your viewers. Maybe we can set something up after we get finished with the episode. But
Sure.
you want to
Sure,
do like
maybe
a couple of
maybe a trivia
giveaways or something like this?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool.
Harrison again is being a frickin' contrarian. Okay, I'm just gonna put that on the table and leave it on the table.
Yeah.
I
don't. know if I
number
agree with that
7.
one.
My number 7 will at least make Harrison happy. It's his favorite lead singer from Black Sabbath, Mr. Tony Martin. And I don't care what anybody says. I think Headless Cross is a brilliant track. And you know, the high notes that he hits on the chorus there, they're insane. And he could really only hit those notes at that one. Like, he was never able to hit those notes again. I think Headless Cross is a great riff. I think Cozy Powell laid down a great groove there. I really feel strongly about that album. It's the album itself is a little keyboardy, but Headless Cross, the track is really solid. So that's my number 7.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
he's got to be the contrarian. Yes, it's Ray Gillen is his favorite singer, the one who never even recorded or released a proper album.
There you go. So my number 7. It was interesting because Marco said earlier that something about Volume 4 has been traditionally a favorite album. For many, many years, my favorite album was Volume 4. It's not anymore. I just love it very, very, very much. And my number 7 is from Volume 4. And it's a song that I got really, really into. There's a local drummer named Jeff Cowell who played in a band called the Groove Daddies, who's a friend of mine from high school. And I got a chance to play live with him once. And we played Cornucopia by Black Sabbath.
I knew you were going to pick
I love the
Cornucopia.
song. I love the song. I've always loved it. I loved singing it. I loved everything about it, and it's just a great song. There you go. That's number 7, Cornucopia.
Very cool.
I had a serious moment of ESP with you just there. That was really weird. As soon as you said Volume 4, the word Cornucopia came into my head. Really weird.
Awesome.
This is the paranormal part of the show. Okay, one comment I'll put on the screen. Cross Purposes Live is his favorite thing Sabbath has ever done. Over to you, Marco.
Well, I don't have anything from the Tony Martin era, but I like Headless Cross, and like a lot of people don't like that era or that song, but I like Headless Cross. And he sings really high. He almost pulls off a King Diamond thing on there too. How high
Very
he can sing,
high.
eh?
Yeah.
But I like that one. But for my number 7, this is my only Dio, and after this, it's all Ozzy. I put After All from Dehumanizer. So I love it because it's very classic Sabbath sounding to me, in the vein of something from Master of Reality in some ways. It's very doomy. It's very heavy. And it's almost what if Dio was around for Master of Reality. But also it's ahead of its time because it reminds me of 13. It almost sounds like God is Dead. It's a weird jump into the future, grab God is Dead, and jump into the past and grab Master Reality and bring them together with Dio. So it's kind of a weird song. And that's the song, like I have a friend of mine who only will listen to Ozzy, won't listen to anything. He doesn't like Dio. He likes Born Again. I got him Born Again. I got him on that. He likes that, but he doesn't really venture out of Ozzy very much. And that's a song that I use when I go to people like my buddy there, my buddy Kane. And I say to him, like, listen to After All the Dead. If you don't like Dio, listen to that song, you know? So I like the guitar lick in there. Just if you're a fan of Dio and you're a fan of like Ozzy, like this is After All for me is kind of merges the two in a weird way. But I love it. That's probably my favorite track off of it. And I've been contrarian recently in that I've been going to Dehumanizer a lot, more than Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, because of how heavy and cool and just everything about it. Computer God is excellent. I love that record.
I almost picked it.
I almost put I on my list. I almost put Computer God on my list. TV Crimes, yeah.
I played that album yesterday. Yeah. I'm really glad you're hitting some of these songs that I didn't. Now I will really quickly about After All the Dead. I will say that I don't think that song could exist without Vinny Appice. Like I know they recorded or at least started writing with Cozy Powell, but to me Vinny Appice is all over Dehumanizer. That album was produced by Mac, and he got a wicked sound on the drums. Wicked sound. That album sounds amazing. And just to show you that I do have a history as a contrarian, I remember getting in an argument with a guy back in 1995, way before we even had the internet. We had something called the local BBS systems. And I was arguing with a guy. I said, I prefer Dehumanizer to Paranoid. And he was like, what are you, mental? And I'm just like, I can only tell you the honest truth. If I prefer something, it's almost like that line in High Fidelity, John Cusack. How can it be bullshit to state a preference?
It's subjective, right?
Yeah, 100%. So for those about to dehumanize, I salute you.
So it's kind of interesting. I think we've done 50. We've had 15 different Black Sabbath songs and
no repeats
and no Mac yet. Neat. Yeah,
there are repeats. A couple. I can foreshadow. There's a couple.
There's going to be. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my number 6 is the title track from this album, and I've been playing the title track to this album a lot, and I'll get a little bit more into it when we skip ahead to the Born Again segment. But it's like a ballady blues. If you break it down, it's a ballady blues, and I'll talk about the lyrics and stuff a little bit later, but I've just been so drawn to that song, especially this week. Just love the very, very simple, if you want to call it a riff, the very, very simple music. It's brilliant. And Gillan's singing is just out of this world. So that's my number 6, the title track from Born Again.
Very cool. Well, my number 6 is also from Volume 4. Because it had to be, and it is one of their heaviest songs to me, not necessarily fast, but heavy, and it is Under the Sun, which I just love it so much. I remember I saw them live, what was it, 6 years ago or so at the ACC, and I remember they played it, and I just was blown away that they were even playing it. I just was not expecting it at all, and I love the song. And weirdly enough, yeah, I saw them in like 2015 or whatever it was. The only other time I've seen Sabbath, I was in grade 7, and I saw the Mob Rules tour at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium, and I really had no idea what the hell I was seeing. Like, the guy I was with was in grade 7 and smoking joints outside, and I don't even know what joints are at the time. And like, I really didn't even know what it was I was really seeing. It was so, I can't even believe I was allowed to go. You know, in grade 7, I was like 12 years old or whatever. But yeah, so anyways, yeah, it's Under the Sun, and I loved that song live as well. It was Just great.
Well, you made Harrison a happy man.
Good.
Over to you, Marco.
So my number 6 is Cornucopia, which
Wow.
I think at least the opening riff, that has to be one of the heaviest things they ever did in the 70s, right? And it kind of reminds me of a little bit of a mashup of like Fairies Wear Boots meets Sabracadabra from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. It's a little proggy. I like the driving sound in it. I love Bill's drumming on it. It's just like a cymbal crash fest. You know, like I love the song. I love when it picks up, when it progresses, and when it picks up, it always, and that's one of my top tracks from Volume 4 for sure.
And our first repeat.
Yeah.
I'm just
First
gonna
repeat,
write
and it's
down.
Cornucopia. Wow.
I know, weird. I'm gonna write down all the repeats so we can have them for reference. But I just want to put a comment up here. That I 100% agree with you. It is Sabbath by any other name. I file it in my collection with Black Sabbath. I file it as a studio album after Forbidden and before 13. I almost picked a song for this list just to be a dick and have a Heaven and Hell song instead of a Black Sabbath song. I was going to put Bible Black. But upon listening to all of these tracks, I couldn't justify Bible Black being among my tracks.
Yeah.
So having said that, I'll
enough.
go to my number 5, which Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, the title track. When I first heard that riff, there's some riffs that you hear and it's like, that's Iommi. Nobody else could have written that riff. Nobody else could have played that riff the way it was done. And when I hear that Sabbath Bloody Sabbath riff, I hear Iommi, and that's all there is to it. And some of the notes that Ozzy hits in that song are insane. Like, you talk about Sabotage, but there's some insane notes in Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. My happiest memory of that song is probably the summer of 92 or 93, driving up to the cottage with my best buddy Peter. And he loved to pass people on the highway. And we would sync up Sabbath Bloody Sabbath to when we were about to pass another car, so that Ozzy is shouting, "You bastards!" just as we passed the car. We used to do that.
That's what you do. Yeah.
That's what we did. So yeah, that's my pick, is Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
That's what you do.
There you go. Oh God. Okay, over to you, Meat Man.
Number 5. Number 5 is another Dio song. And just a classic song. Another one from Mob Rules. And I mean, I have a feeling somebody might be doing this coming up, but it won't be Marco because he has no more left.
Right.
But my number 5 is Sign of the Southern Cross. It's just, I just find it just like, it tells a story, both lyrically and musically. It's just a great song, great songwriting, and great great vocals by Dio. So, Sign of the Southern Cross,
cool.
5.
Awesome.
We might see that again.
Yeah, maybe.
Over to you,
Very
Marco.
cool. My number 5, Into the Void. I think this is, my buddy Kane would say this is the best Black Sabbath song ever. And I think he really champions Master Reality. Honestly, lately, especially after doing this list, like I'm kind of starting to think maybe Master Reality is the best Sabbath record. But Into the Void, it's just one of the coolest Sabbath riffs ever. The bass is super crunchy. The melodies are really cool. I like that it's kind of groovy and loose, but it gets tight and heavy when the song really starts. It's a great track. Love the echo effect on Ozzy's voice. It's just super cool. I don't know what else to say. It's my number. What is that? Number 5?
Yeah.
Number 5. Yeah.
I'm glad you picked it.
That's awesome. Man,
Glad
that's
you
great.
gave it some love.
Yep.
There's a side conversation going on here about one of the songs on Born Again, but I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. Okay, so my number 4. Yeah, okay, so I picked Heaven and Hell for my number 4. Has anybody picked that one yet? I
No?
don't think so. Kind of surprising, but and I was debating doing something else like Bible Black or Voodoo or something like that. But when it came right down to it, I couldn't deny that riff. I will say that I think that is Tony Iommi's definitive riff, the Heaven and Hell riff. And the first time I ever heard it in my life was 1992, and it was I've told this story before, but it was the Freddie Mercury tribute concert, and it was the moment where Brian May is introducing Tony, who played basically backup guitar for Queen for almost the entire show. That's pretty wild. But he introduced Tony with this riff, and they start playing it together, him and Brian May. And I was like, what is that? What is it? And they only played a part of it, and I was just like, I think that's amazing. And I finally heard the song in full, and can't deny its power. Cannot deny its power. So, cool. Into the Void would be Kevin's number 1. That's pretty impressive.
I could see that.
Right. Well, over to you, Eric.
Number 4, eh? Number 4 is again from Sabotage. And this is a song that, it's funny, because, like, yeah, I had seen Sabbath in Bob Rules when I was very young, which really still didn't really know. I didn't really understand how great Sabbath was until I sat with a buddy and he played me on vinyl Speak of the Devil. All of a sudden I'm hearing all these songs. I'm like, well, yeah, I've heard some of these, but I'll never forget the beginning of it. The first song on the album was Symptom of the Universe, and such an incredible version. I actually prefer the version on the Speak of the Devil, because I'm so used to everything, the way it sounds, his vocals, the Brad Gillis guitar is great, but the song itself is it's just a piece of work. So Symptom of the Universe is my number 4.
I just want to do 2 quick comments. One is that you and I have had disagreements about that album before, and I would love to do like a Contrarian style discussion about it one day. Number 2, for all the viewers out there, I have a very distinct memory of hearing Symptom of the Universe on Sesame Street sometime in the 90s. And it was like the alphabet or learning numbers, but it was done to the music of Symptom of the Universe. Wow. If any of you can find that video, please send it to me. Because I'd like to think
That's funny. I doubt you were getting high back then.
No, and I don't think it was a dream, but you never know. I've had very vivid dreams. So,
wow.
So over to you, Marco.
One time I was watching America's Funniest Home Videos, and what was that song from Peter Criss's solo album came up? Although I think it was a
Stop
cover.
the Rain.
No. I don't remember. It'll come to me. But that song came on. I'm like, am I dreaming? I was like half asleep. But I think it was a cover anyways. But anyways, what number am I on? 4?
4, I think.
Again, Master Reality, Lord of this World. I like the sound of I like the sound of the production on it. I think it sounds really cool. I like the dueling soloing thing that's happening, going on with Geezer's bass cutting right through the mix. I wish Bill's drums were a little beefier on this, but Ozzy's got the best job because he basically gets to just ride through the whole song with his performance. I think anything that reminds you about like just the lyrical content in this, I just think is really heavy, but it's just, I think it's really cool. It's really poignant. And in a way, it kind of reminds me of Thrill of It All, the same kind of lyrical content, I guess. But again, Master Reality, after doing this list, I'm like, man, maybe Master Reality is my favorite Sabbath record. I don't know.
That song just missed my list. That was in an honorable mention.
And I like Sabbath's mellow songs, like Planet Caravan and Solitude. Like, I like those.
I deleted Solitude from my list at the last minute.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah. What I like about Lord of this World, that riff is so sludgy. It is really, really greasy. Yeah, man, I love that riff.
Yeah,
that's just one. It's
great.
There's so many great Iommi riffs, and that's definitely one of them. Speaking of riffs, number 3. My number 3 is basically a riff and not much more, but it's such a killer. That would be Supernaut. Kind of surprised nobody picked it yet.
I cut that one out last minute.
What a great riff!
I cut that one out last minute too.
It's so great. I'm really attracted to Geezer Butler's bass lines on a lot of these Sabbath songs, and on Supernaut, he does this thing, kind of like in sync with Ione.
Yeah.
But I love when Geezer reaches for the high notes on the bass neck and slides all over the place. And man, Supernaut's just so good. It's like a rocket ship, really. Bill Ward, it just powers through that thing. He's so loose, Bill Ward, you know? Fast but loose on that one. Great song. Number 3, Supernaut.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Nice. My number 3, eh?
Yeah.
My number 3, in ways, is a song I like better than my number 2 and number 1. Number 2 and number 1 are in there because of the legacy aspect. But my number 3 was actually, I grew an appreciation for this song because of Metallica. Because they ended up putting out a smoking version of Sabracadabra.
Yes, they did.
Which is such an amazing song. And it's one of the happiest songs ever done by a metal band. Like, it's just so happy and positive and everything. It's a great contrast for them. Great song. I love everything about it. So, yeah, but that's my number 3, Sabracadabra.
That album was Garage Inc. And when you and I first met...
Mike Fraser.
Right. Our friend. Mm-hmm. When you and I first met, that night, we were... Just Marco, just so you know our relationship, Eric and I worked together at a record store for a few years. Me 12 and him like 1. But I drove him home from work one night and he said to me, "Have you heard Metallica's Merciful Fate medley from that album, from Garage Inc.?" And I said, I just happen to have a cassette here with the single on it. So we jammed that cassette into the car tape deck, and that's how we kind of bonded initially. Eric and I, 20-odd, however many years ago that is.
It's true. Yeah. And
Crazy on that?
Sorry?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mystique
Mystique did Stone Cold Crazy. And I think even before that record came out. Yeah, I think it was on the B-side of their 45 in like 88.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
But of course, Queen
cool.
did it first, you know. But...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Queen did it first. Yes, Queen did it first. Yes. That's cool. All right. I guess this is Marco's number 3, right?
Oh, yeah, right. My top 3, I don't know, they're not super contrarian, but I mean, number 3, because I mean, even like Paranoid, I think you could say, okay, maybe you're sick of the track Paranoid, and maybe you're sick of Iron Man, maybe even to a lesser extent War Pigs. But I mean, for me, I'll never get sick of Fairies Wear Boots. That to me, it's classic Sabbath. I think that's when I really fell in love with the band. I love that song. I love how it's chugging, but it's also very jammy feeling, and it's also very like even when they do it live, like the Paris version of it from 1970, just that to me is just classic Black Sabbath. That song, that performance, everything about it is classic Black Sabbath to me, and I don't think I will ever get sick of that song. I don't think I ever could. If I'm sick of that song, I don't have a pulse. Like that to me is just Black Sabbath, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the song is incredible.
Boots. You can say what you want about the album Paranoid, but I love Fairies Wear Boots.
Yeah. It's one of those tracks that Ozzy or Sabbath or both will probably always play live at some point.
I have a clip from like 20. I have a clip from like 20 years ago or more than 25 years ago of our band doing that song, and it's something that I love it. I love the song. I mean, the song makes it's not rocket science, but it's perfectly constructed just to be kind of rock, blues, you know, up, down. It's just perfect. So I love it. Great song.
I was actually just looking for the video. I can't find the link. I was going to say maybe I should play that video when we go out tonight, but anyway, no, not. You did a great version of Fairies Wear Boots, if I do say so, my friend.
I have heard that, but it doesn't mean you just move on.
Well, there you go. Meat's version of Fairies Wear Boots is great. Harrison's heard it.
Thank you, Harrison.
Check that out. Brian's got Garage Inc. on 6LP white vinyl. So good. I bet it is. But my number 2 guess we're into the top 2, is a repeat. It's the Sign of the Southern Cross. And again, it's one of those riffs. You hear it, and it's Iommi. There's no mistaking it. And my weird Sign of the Southern Cross story is that I was out on a date with a girl. It was 1995, and we were at the Elora Gorge, and we're having lunch at an outdoor patio. And all of a sudden, Sign of the Southern Cross comes on the radio as we're eating in this folksy outdoor patio, that serve things like antojitos and they're playing Black Sabbath. And I'd never heard the song before. I'd heard the riff probably in snippets, but it's the first time I ever heard the song. And I was just like, this is the best date I've ever been on my whole life. So there you go. Number 2, Sign of the Southern Cross, for entirely personal reasons.
Indeed. And as only the second, match?
Yeah, that's only the second match. Cornucopia and Sign of the Southern Cross. That's it.
That's mind-blowing if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Well, my number 2 has not been said yet, and I'm a little surprised it hasn't been said. And my number 2, you could say is very simply the heaviest Black Sabbath riff ever, in my opinion. It's classic metal, and it's just what you think of when you think of a Black Sabbath metal song, and it is from a Master of Reality, and it is Children of the Grave. And that song, it starts off so heavy, and it just continues to be so heavy. I can imagine that song being played live in 1974 or whatever would just kick your ass. It's just so good. So, yeah, number 2 is Children of the Grave.
Awesome.
Love it.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
The Peter Criss song I was thinking about earlier was Tossin' and Turnin'. I heard that on America's Funniest Home Videos, and I was half asleep. And the next day, I'm like, did I dream that? But I think that was a cover anyway, so it might have been the cover version. But my number 2 is, this one was already mentioned, Hand of Doom.
All right.
I think it's very heavy. Yeah, I love the changes. I love the changes the song goes through. I love how it starts off kind of ominous and almost even bluesy, but then it progresses to like really early proto metal. And I think Ozzy's performance and Tony's riffing are just classic. I love the part when it starts to pick up. I love when it starts chugging. The lyrics are haunting interpretations of real life. And it's not like they're singing about monsters and boogeymen. Like they're singing about the horrors of like real stuff, and now when we're seeing things, I don't mean to bring the show down, but like seeing things like the opioid epidemic and stuff like this, it's like they were singing about that, man, 40 plus years ago, they're talking about stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I love how it slows back down, the drums, the bass, just everything. Hand of Doom to me is a classic Black. Like my top 3 are like 3 classics. I'll never get sick of them. And they'll probably be set in stone is my top 3.
It was funny, like you're so right about the lyric content. It's something that it's kind of different from the Ozzy Sabbath era. 2, you would never catch Ronnie James Dio ever singing a song like that. No. It's so different than anything that he would do, which is not a knock on him, but it just like kind of Ozzy had to be the person who was singing that. It was just a great lyrically. I love the song, as you know. So good.
Marco's bringing back some memories here when he mentions the lyrics. I remember, I think I was a little young when I got Paranoid. And that tune, Hand of Doom and Electric Funeral, both kind of disturbed me a bit, Like the nuclear war imagery of Electric Funeral, and of course the stick the needle in imagery. I think I was a little young, and I was in like grade 8, and I acquired Paranoid in I traded a Kiss album. I traded Hotter Than Hell, actually. I had acquired Hotter Than Hell, and my next door neighbor only needed 2 Kiss albums to finish his entire collection, and one of them was Hotter Than Hell. I phoned him up and I said, "Do you need Hotter Than Hell?" And he's like, "Yeah, why?" And I'm like, "I have it in my bedroom." And he's like, "I'm coming right over." And he came over with a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of Maiden singles, a Walkman,
wow.
An Abbott and Costello record, and Paranoid. And I ended up soaking him for all of that stuff for that copy of Heaven and Hell. I took it all, and I think I was a little young for Paranoid. That album, those two songs in particular, they kind of did disturb my. I was frightened. Frightened, I guess, is the word, you know. But such is the reality of some of those Black Sabbath lyrics. All right, so I guess I'm kind of just delaying the inevitable, but it's time for my number one, and it is a song I played several times this week, and it's a song that is also a repeat. It's, I believe it was Marco's number 11, Disturbing the Priest. Writing it down. You said a number of things about that song earlier. I agree with you 100%, and I'll go into a little bit more detail when we discuss Born Again shortly. I love that song. Love it. So, yeah, that's my number one. And these guys are calling us out because nobody said NIB yet, and they have a good point.
Jeez, of course.
Honestly, I'm such a huge Sabbath fan that like a lot of like NIB, Children of the Grave, stuff that wasn't on my list, I could honestly make an argument and put it right in the top 5. Like my top
absolutely
top 3. Everything after that, I probably could have mixed. If we did this another month down the road, I might have even switched things around a little bit. But NIB is absolutely. I love the first record, like start to finish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
We could easily go on all night until midnight with just listing.
I could do a top 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do top 100, and they're all tied.
That's right. That's true enough.
All right, Eric, are you going to let these guys down, or are you going to pick NIB?
Well. No, I'm not picking NIB. and I just a very short little background here. Yeah, I had said that Volume 4 for many years was my favorite album, and it was for many, many years. Now, I realized like a couple of years ago, and I know for the rest of time now, my number one album will always be by Black Sabbath is Heaven and Hell. I recently, Pete Pardo has had a section on perfect albums, and it's a good example for me right now because I've already had 2 Mob Rules songs on my list, and I have not had a Mob Rules. Sorry, I've not had any Heaven and Hell on the list. Sorry, so like. Yeah, like there are standout songs on Mob Rules, but I mean, a lot of people they slag songs like "I Lonely Is the Word" and "Wishing Well" and "Walk Away" and everything. And I love all of those songs. I think they're all great. I think Heaven and Hell is a perfect album. So that being said, my number one is their best song, in my opinion, and it's been said already. And it is Children of the Sea. It is my number one.
I was wondering where you're going with that. I thought you were going to pick the title track.
No. I love Children of the Sea. I've always loved this song. It's just, and it's, I mean, Roddy James Dio is the greatest metal vocalist of all time, in my opinion, and it just shows on that song so much. It's great.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I got to see him live twice.
Wow.
With the Heaven and Hell tour, you know. So,
do you consider that Black Sabbath as well, like I do?
Yeah, 100%. I think literally the only reason they called it Heaven and Hell was because they were holding out for hoping for an Aussie reunion, and they didn't want to call it muddy the waters.
Yeah,
but I mean that was, to me, that was Black Sabbath, really.
Yeah.
I tell people saw Black Sabbath with Dio. I don't often say Heaven and Hell unless I'm talking to very, music fans. I'm like, I saw Heaven and Hell.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally.
All right, Marco, pressure's on. We got yet another. One. Yeah, it better be NIB or.
It's not, but honestly, that was. I have a list of like 10 songs, and that's on there of honorable mentions. For sure, NIB is on that list of 10 songs, and Dirty Women too. I really want to mention Dirty Women because I think that's probably my standout track for me too. And could have been in my top 5 for sure. My top song is Snowblind. I think this is always my favorite Black Sabbath song ever. It's quintessential Black Sabbath to me in every respect. It's heavy. It's progressive. I like the changes. It's definitely proto metal. I like the lyrics, the content, the progressions when the song picks up. This and Hand of Doom, I'll never get sick of them. And Fairies Wear Boots. Those three songs I can just listen to any version of them live in the studio, even other people singing them, whatever. But I think Snowblind to me is number one Sabbath, and that's set in. I don't think I'll ever change that.
That's awesome.
That is a killer way to go out there.
I think it's
That's
the
a good
perfect
pick.
Black Sabbath song. I would probably argue it's the perfect Black Sabbath song.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
A lot of the songs that have been picked tonight, from a lot of Volume 4 representation. Really, and a lot of those songs, unfortunately, the first time I heard them was on Live at Last, which is not the greatest live album in the entire world. But it is part of that Black Sabbath Volume 4 reissue.
You know, a couple of things about Snowblind. One, I loved it right from the bat. I was the intro that Ozzy did on Speak of the Devil with, "No, I'm gonna do a song about cocaine." Like, it's just so, and it's just a perfect beginning to a thing. And then it was weird because when I finally saw Ozzy live, the only time I've ever seen him was like 2015 or whatever at the ACC. One thing I loved, and I remember it so clearly, is them playing Snowblind, and in the part where he's doing the "My eyes are blind and I can't see," like myself and a whole row of people, I could see we're all cheering out loud that, holy cow, this 81-year-old guy is actually hitting these notes. Like it was like a triumphant thing that people were loving it so much.
Yeah.
It was so good. Just so good.
Yeah, and he always yells cocaine too in the chorus.
Cocaine!
Or on the album, he whispers it.
Right, which kind of defeats the purpose of the more poetic lyrics. You know, you can't really... If you play Volume 4 for Mom and Dad, you can say, no, it's about snow. But on the live version, cocaine! You can't lie to Mom and Dad on the live version.
It was
Sorry.
When I was asked to do this list, it was just automatically I put that at number one. The easiest choice was number one for me.
Oh, wow.
And then I built the list after that.
So we've just rhymed off 33 songs, and we've only had 5 repeats, which is pretty awesome. I would consider this a very, very successful Nigel Tufnell top 10 list. Even if we didn't do NIB or any of those other songs that have been coming up in the great comments. Kevin, interestingly enough, I remember this box set. Ozzy Osbourne Years was a 3 CD set. It was a U.S. import, at least for me. And the track listings were mixed up. They had intros and outros and everything all sequenced weird with the track breaks. But it was my first exposure to so many of those classic Black Sabbath songs and Tony Iommi riffs. And I don't think the Writ came up. We did Megalomania and Thrill of It All.
Okay.
I don't think the Writ came up.
Wait. We haven't done honorable mentions yet.
Oh, you want to do honorable mentions, I see.
Yeah, I would like to. I just got to get my honorable
All right, well, I'm going
list.
to ad-lib some honorable mentions then. You go first.
Okay, well, 1 second. I got to get to the right
All right,
thing.
then I'm going to start by... Oh, okay, Marco, you start.
Someone else go on, please.
So my number 12 is Supernaut. I could listen to that song on repeat. Honestly, I think it's one of the strongest songs on Volume 4 from one of my favorite Sabbath albums. It manages to be heavy and groovy at the same time, and it manages to be a crossover song that people who aren't even into metal will like. And I've seen reaction videos on YouTube of people, who don't know a band, they react to stuff, and I've seen people react favorably to Supernaut. It's cool and it's funky, and that jam at the end is really cool. And my number 13 was Warning, which I thought was very heavy, chugging blues. It's the cover of Anzi Dunbar Retaliation. Love the original version, love that version. It's perfect for Ozzy's voice. I kind of don't like how long it is, because I feel like it gets a little too long in the middle parts, but I love the verses, everything. So I put Supernaut 12 and Warning 13.
Oh, man. I'll rhyme off Bible Black, Scary Dreams, the version of Junior's Eyes with Dave Walker singing. I love it. Glory Ride from The Eternal Idol. From Seventh Star, I got quite a few songs, but the title track would be pretty hefty. And then a whole bunch of the Aussie tracks that we haven't covered yet. The title track never came up, strangely enough.
Yeah, that surprises me a lot.
Yeah. And a lot of the
Big
typical
time.
stuff. Paranoid was on my list. Paranoid itself was on my list because I never get tired of that song. It's so simple, and it's pretty much the only song I can actually play on guitar. Yeah, so there's some pretty good runners-up.
So I did have a couple of Marcos on my list of runner-ups, which were Into the Void and Lord of This World. Some songs that were not mentioned that I had that just missed were, yes, The Writ, which I love the song. Voodoo, which is great.
Yeah.
Die Young, which I again thought somebody was going to pick that.
Oh, yes.
Wheels of Confusion, St. Vitus Dance, and A National Acrobat, and Spiral Architect were the.
You know what? Technical Ecstasy is loaded with good tracks besides just Dirty Women. I would take a whole bunch of those. Maybe not Rock and Roll Doctor. But there's some great tunes on Technical Ecstasy. I forgot to mention Computer God. I forgot. Marco mentioned I at one point.
Yeah.
And Kevin is facetiously talking about the Forbidden album here. No Ice-T songs got mentioned, but I will shout out. There are a couple good songs on Forbidden. You know what? I would go with the title track on Forbidden. It's pretty epic. Yeah. So there's a whole shit ton of great runners up there.
I do want to say that just, it's interesting that you both have mentioned Dehumanizer. Now, I myself have a bit of a contrarian opinion when it comes to Dehumanizer, because it's very similar to my opinion for two obviously very big Kiss fans, and I myself am a very long-time Kiss fan. I don't necessarily like Dehumanizer because to me it's kind of Sabbath pretending to be heavier than they are. It's almost too heavy. Like the Dio stuff that I remember on in Mob Rules in Heaven Now was just good rock. It wasn't metal, and I found it's trying too hard. I've always said the same thing about Creatures of the Night. Everyone loves Creatures of the Night. While I love the people in it, and some of the songs are great, sometimes I just look at it like, you're pretending that you're heavy. And you can tell by the album before and the album after it. It's almost like a trend thing. And it kind of makes Dehumanizer, I don't know, it's a lot of, like Tom is going to be upset. He loves it. Almost everyone I know loves, Dehumanizer. I don't love it for that very reason.
It's funny because I kind of agree with you on Creatures. I'm not I think it's a little overrated, but I like Creatures. But I also kind of put that in the same vein as like Revenge, where I feel like they're trying to be, especially Carnival of Souls. That's that's way off. But
that was a try, yeah.
For sure, yeah. But I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah, my favorite Dio stuff is always like Rainbow. Like anything that's when he got a little older, he seemed to slow down the tempo of his songs that he was singing quite a bit. But my favorite stuff was always like Kill the King. Like that's quintessential Dio for me. And Turn Up the Night, right? Turn Up the Night's like Kill the King. Even Die Young, stuff like that. Like that's my favorite Dio stuff. But I do see what you're saying, but I do like Dehumanizer a lot. And it's just
I totally get
thing. I like those songs.
A lot of people love that album.
TV Crimes is like a Kill the King type of song. Or Turn Up the Night type of song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Awesome.
ELO,
I do like that song.
Boingo? ELO. We'll saw in the comments.
I did not know this. I am going to thank you. I'm going to look for that. Well, boys, it's already 8:45, if you can believe it. Let's get started on this Black Sabbath Born Again discussion. Because I've already alluded to so many things, so we may as well get started on it. You guys want to do it?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Okay, set us up, Mikey.
All right, so I'll set us up here. This is because Marco is with us. He's the real contrarian. We're just wannabes, but we're gonna do our own take on
You're
a contrarian.
honorary contrarians.
We're honorary contrarian, knockoff contrarians tonight, but we're gonna talk about Black Sabbath's Born Again. There we have it. Possibly the ugliest cover. So, one of my favorite quotes from Ian Gillan is, "I heard the mix of this album and threw up, and then I saw the cover and threw up." My sister was terrified of this cover. She's 4 years younger than me. She was terrified of this cover. She hated it. And it is kind of disturbing, isn't it? But does it not
so.
aptly describe the music inside? It's as ugly as the music is.
It's a good representation of the actual title, Born Again.
It really actually is.
Sure,
yeah.
And it reminds me of that Exodus album cover with the twin babies.
Oh yeah, also disturbing looking. Yeah.
I had a T-shirt of that.
Bonded by blood. Bonded by blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that T-shirt for the longest time.
So keep in mind, I've never tried to do any like contrarian style review before, but I'll just tell you some stuff that I like about this album. It's actually my favorite album of all time. I've said this on numerous occasions. This is my favorite album of all time, and I don't really know how it got to be that way. A buddy of mine had it on cassette, and I borrowed it off him to record it. And for whatever reason, my tape deck wasn't liking it. I couldn't record it off him. So I asked him if I could just buy it off him, and I think I paid him $5 or whatever for the cassette. And I wore that thing out. And memories are foggy. A lot of my opinions about this album are probably based on nostalgia. So anyway, first thing I noticed looking at pictures from the deluxe edition is that despite the complaints that Ian Gillan didn't wear leathers, I thought that he actually fit in really well visually with the band. And when I was growing up as a kid, I actually didn't know really that Black Sabbath had any other singers. I thought that Gillan was the singer. The singer from Black Sabbath was, this guy here with the long hair. He looks the part. He looks the part. And waving the hair in the frickin' videos, to me, that was my Black Sabbath. Marco said that he thought this was, I can't remember the exact words he used, but I wrote down that it's the heaviest, most evil sounding Black Sabbath ever.
Ominous.
Ominous.
Brooding.
Yeah. Instrumental bits like Stonehenge in the Dark are definitely ominous. And I also wrote a note that this album probably sounds like cocaine. I don't know what cocaine sounds like, but I think it sounds like this. I loved that this album is so thick with sound effects, which as a kid I used to assume were keyboards, but I think it's actually guitar and bass with echo and reverb and all kinds of stuff turned up to the max. Just really haunting, evil sounds. Not really musical sounds, but it adds to the whole overall gestalt of this album. I mentioned the track Born Again. It's like a heavy blues, Born Again, Gillan sings his ass off, and if you listen to the end, you can hear Gillan on the congas. I assume it's Gillan on the congas. Is he credited as... no, he's only credited on vocals. Maybe it's Bill Ward on congas. But just the sound of them reminded me of, made me smile, because I always associate Ian Gillan with congas. I picked Disturbing the Priest as my number one song. I wrote that it could be their heaviest song ever. I love... One thing about it that I do love is that the main guitar part during the verses, "Let's try, get into the sky," the guitar part is so dissonant. And it sounds like he's hitting harmonics. Like, I'm not a musician, I don't know, but it sounds like Tony Iommi's hitting harmonics there. It's not really a very Iommi-ish guitar part at all. And it doesn't turn Iommi-ish until the chorus, really. I love it, though. It's so effective. When you get to Zero the Hero, you get to Ian Gillan's chorus. The way they double track his voice is very purpley. And I found the chorus to Zero the Hero to be the initial hook that got me into this album. I don't know what a Zero the Hero even is, but he just convinced me it was something really, really, really important. The guys in the comments earlier mentioned the track Keep It Warm, which some people liked and some people didn't. I love Keep It Warm. I think it's really cool, but man, the lyrics on this album they're weird. Like, Ian Gillan writes some... Okay. Gillan writes some pretty cool lyrics when he's with Purple, but I think that's because Roger Glover co-writes the lyrics with him. When he's left to his own devices, he writes weird stuff like, Keep It Warm, Rat. Apparently Keep It Warm was written for his girlfriend at the time and then wife, and he calls her Rat. I don't get it. And on Born Again, he writes, here's a lyric I don't understand. The gray and plastic retards all floating around in circles. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? I've never heard that word used in a rock song before. But that's Ian Gillan for you. Like, nothing about Ian Gillan makes sense, you know? I realize that a lot of what I've just said about Born Again probably could be used in a counter argument as to why it's not a very good album. So this is why I concede that my love for it is based largely on nostalgia. The sound of it is so awful. I liken the snare drum sound to somebody hitting a piece of sheet metal. And Bill Ward's a lot stiffer on Born Again than he was in the early stuff. You can really hear that the looseness is not as there. Harrison Cobb. Yeah, that was probably a lot of it. Yeah, but the songs worked. I think they do. I really do. I don't know how... I think Gillan really did put his whole heart into this thing, but as somebody mentioned earlier in the comments, by the time the tour was happening, he already had his mind set on Deep Purple again. I don't think these songs worked particularly well live. I was listening to the live bonus disc today on this thing, and I don't think the songs worked particularly well live. I don't even think Gillan worked particularly well live with Black Sabbath, but...
It's so weird how Bevan was with them live, right?
Yeah.
And he came from ELO and The Move, and I love The Move, and I think I love Looking On. We did an episode on The Move, the Contrarians and Looking On. Like, I'm a fan. That's an even odder combination to me than Ian Gillan, is that they had Bevan on drums, because he sounds like he comes from a world that would be completely off. But I actually can't argue too much with you, but I will make a point. I absolutely love Born Again, so I can't argue too much with you. And I do think it's Contrarian. I don't think it's the best Black Sabbath record. But at one point in my life, I was absolutely obsessed with Born Again. And I even gave my CD copy to a friend of mine who was a huge Black Sabbath fan, who refused to listen to anything after Ozzy, like I mentioned. He didn't like Dio, hated Dio, my buddy Kane. And I gave him Born Again, and he liked Born Again, right? So that shows you the strength of Born Again, that he hated Dio, but he was willing to give Born Again a shot, and he liked it a lot. Wow. Actually, I think he played it on repeat for a while. But I was absolutely obsessed with Born Again for a while. I like a lot of the tracks on there. Even Hotline is almost Deep Purple, Rainbow-esque.
Yeah.
But I like Hotline on there. I think what I had said and what you had said about it being seemingly the most brooding and ominous Black Sabbath record, for sure. Even when I listen to the title track Born Again now, I'm almost a little kind of, it makes me feel a certain way, which I think says a lot when you have an emotional reaction to something. However, I do think in recent years, I've gone back to it less. I went back to it for this because I knew I was coming on here to talk about it, and I enjoyed listening to it, but it's not something that I go back and listen to a hell of a lot, and I do that more with the classic Sabbath stuff. and more even with like Dehumanizer, because it's a little fresher to me because I listened to the hell out of Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules. What I would say though about and also Ian Gillan is one of the greatest rock vocalists ever. And I think this was his last best performance. I think this was the peak of his vocals, because even and we did Deep Purple Perfect Strangers as one of our episodes too. And I made the point that from Born Again the year before to Perfect Strangers the next year, you can hear a decline, even somewhat, even slightly. Start to hear, okay, his voice is aged in the past year. And it might have been because of the doing Born Again songs live for a whole year or whatever they did, right? But I think this was his last best performance. Or the last of his peak. But I will say I almost appreciate Born Again as separate from the Black Sabbath catalog. And the way the point that I'll make is, I don't know if anybody is a big fan of James Bond, but I absolutely love On Her Majesty's Secret Service. But I would never say that's the best James Bond movie. But in a weird way, I feel an odd connection with that, and find that A Majesty's Secret Service in a weird way is almost like it's a standalone. What George Lazenby never acted in another James Bond. The director never directed another James Bond. It's a weird standalone film that works, and it's very straightforward, and it's very serious. But I would definitely pick Goldfinger over On Her Majesty. But it's something is oddly compelling about it, and I feel the same way about Born Again. There's something oddly compelling about it. It's almost like a super group. I almost don't even consider it like Black Sabbath, but it's oddly compelling. But I would never say it's the best Black Sabbath record. But for me, it's definitely, I was completely obsessed with that record for quite a while.
Kevin,
that's
Kevin
all
right
subjective.
Now, my buddy Kevin here is reviewing all the James Bond movies in a row right now. So Kevin,
cool.
rewind and catch Marco's comments about this. It's very relevant actually to the discussion.
So none of that was objective. None of that was objective. That was all subjective, but that's the way I feel about it.
I want to mention one other thing that I forgot to write down, but I hear a parallel between Born Again and our favorite Kiss album, Hotter Than Hell. Maybe it's the fact that the drums sound like shit on both albums, but I do think that the two are parallel in a certain way, and that's one of Kiss's heaviest albums, certainly of the 70s era, before they...
It's an interesting comparison, actually.
Yeah.
It's really... It's very strange what Marco just said, in a way, but I understand part of it completely, but I kind of differ on some of it, because when it comes to Gillan, I can see what you mean about it sounds like performance-wise, it's some of his strongest work. I can totally see that. But in the same breath, it's the worst sound of almost any rock album I've ever heard. So it takes away from how good it is. Like, okay, for example, compare Child in Time to Hotline or Trashed. And like, they are totally different singers. And I would even say, from what you were saying about Perfect Strangers, I mean, even compare that. He actually does sound very good, and like, if someone really wasn't paying attention to Born Again and just heard, that's the same fucking guy that I just heard. Like, yeah, the performance is great. The sound is fucking awful. So I don't understand how some people can really connect with that album because of it. I mean, that is a different opinion than both of you, but I'm just saying, sometimes that sound, it takes away from any positives that I find in the album sometimes. I just can't take it.
Yeah, and I like how it was compared to Hotter Than Hell, because the production is scrappy on both, even more so on Heaven and Hell, I think. But it's just something about the songs and the performances. Martin will Martin will vote a record down if the production is bad. For me, it's more about the songs and the performances. Because I understand, and again, this comes from my background and the whole. I don't want to bring up the Mystique thing every 5 seconds, but Mystique was a very independent band. They didn't have a lot of money. They did what they had to do and could do with production. Now, maybe with a super group like Sabbath, it's different. So for me, I can kind of ignore production and just if I appreciate the performances and the songs, and I think I froze again. Am I frozen?
No, I can see
Oh,
you
okay.
fine.
Oh, okay. Sorry, both of you guys.
Eric
look like you're
might be
but-
frozen actually. I think Eric's frozen.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying about the production for sure.
I
Yeah,
had a
cool.
thought that just escaped me. Production. You know, I
No?
can tolerate. You're cool now. You're killing, I think. Wave, hello. You're slow and choppy. Maybe try disconnecting and reconnecting. That sometimes helps. Regarding production, I think about it having Born Again on cassette.
I
And then
think we're all fucked up with.
I don't know. Me and Mark are okay. I think it's
I'm
just
okay,
you.
yeah.
It's just you. Try disconnecting and reconnecting. That'll help. I think going back to my era of cassettes, every album sounded like shit on cassette on my little tape deck. You know, production probably meant very, very little.
I'm fine.
You are far from fine, my friend. Okay, you seem to be moving again. No, now you're. Well, I don't know. That's kind of a funny pun right there, though. Ooh, Brian saw Deep Purple.
I was moving, which is very strange because on my end it's other people. Very strange.
Of course, that's because it's your on your end.
Oddness going on.
Well, Chris Sarr says it's frozen meat, and Mike and Marco are good. So Chris Sarr has always been our quality control expert, and he would be correct. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add about Born Again. I mean, I don't
know what's going on.
I love that album. It has always sounded like shit because I always had a shitty cassette. And I guess when I got it on CD, I kind of hoped it would sound better and was surprised that it basically sounded the same as cassette. And see you, Kevin. Thanks for taking part tonight. Yeah. Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's funny, but when you look at things through the lens of nostalgia, bad production becomes a positive quality. Like, I wouldn't change a thing about Hotter Than Hell. As bad as it sounds, I wouldn't change a thing because it takes me back.
Yeah, but can you say the same thing about Born Again?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
you
don't
wouldn't
get me
change
wrong.
any sound.
He's not letting you off the hook on that one.
No, okay. Let me qualify.
No.
If somebody put out a brand new deluxe edition of Born Again, remixed from the original master tapes, you know, the way we wanted it to sound, I would absolutely give it a listen, and I would buy it, and I would have it in my collection alongside my original Born Again. But Eric, I mean, I have so many albums in my collection that are remixed from the original master tapes to make it sound like we always wanted it to, and they never stick with me as much as an original. That's just
yeah. But Tony Iommi has made many comments about hating the production of that album.
So is Ian Gillan.
Many. Well, there's a reason for this.
Yeah.
They aren't guessing. Like,
no, I know.
You know, and I'd say the thing with Hotter Than Hell, like, I think there's a difference between the sound being something kind of a quirky quality to it, as opposed to the Born Again thing, where it's just so, like, it's just caustic sounding, and I don't know if it was meant to be. I just don't know if it was meant to sound sound like. I don't know. Who knows?
Caustic is a very good word. I like that. Apparently, you are back in action, so that's good.
Okay, I don't know what was going on. I was just sitting there, and who knows.
But yeah, like in my defense, I would definitely listen to a remixed Born Again if they could try to get it to sound better. If Iommi felt like sitting down in front of a mixing console for a few weeks, but I know from experience I would not listen to it as often as the original. I just know that from experience. There's enough examples of that in my collection. The Triumph remixes, they remixed Triumph's greatest hits, and it sounds sonically great. but I can always hear the difference between that and the original versions, and I always go back to the originals. I like how Eric pretended to freeze.
Yes, I did.
But anyway, yeah, that's. I mean, I acknowledge it is far from the best Black Sabbath album. You know, I acknowledge that.
Thank you.
But it is my favorite. What can I say? It's my favorite. That's all I got. And that's all I got to say about that.
Then again, like we all know, there's a very different case to be made when you're saying favorite and best. So it's a very different case.
Right.
I mean, I love that Marco introduced somebody to Born Again, and they got it. You know, I love that.
That's awesome.
And he's still got his Born Again on cassette. My Born Again cassette is in a Thunder Bay landfill, but we won't get into that story. He's talking about the Record Store Day Triumph box set of Allied Forces that's coming out. Okay, I didn't know it had a picture disc in it. Interesting. I still want it. Well, boys, I thank you both. Is Eric frozen again? No, he's not. He's just pretending again. I thank you both for a wonderful Black Sabbath conversation tonight. Is there anything else you feel like discussing while we're here?
That was really fun.
That was a lot of fun. Marco, we're going to have you back to talk about the movie, The Mystique. Again, okay, so just tell everybody what to look for on YouTube to look up Mystique, the movie.
Yeah.
I think most of the social media for the Mystique thing is Mystique Film or Film Mystique. So I know we're on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Facebook is official 30th Mystique, I think, because they had started that before we had started working on the documentary. John and Ray, who are the two main guys in Mystique. That's on YouTube. I know there's a trailer that I put together, I think a couple of years ago, is on YouTube. I want to put out a new trailer. There's some really cool like live stuff that was from soundboard recordings from Bannisters and Hamilton and stuff like this. So like, if you're familiar with Hamilton music scene of the 80s, you'll know Bannisters, and you may have heard of Mystique. But if you want to check out any of that stuff, it's YouTube. I think Mystique Film, and you'll actually see some stuff there. And you'll see that cool thing where I showed my Mystique merchandise, which I have now. It's all because I ran over to get that Meat CD, so all my Mystique stuff is laying around in the hallway right now. So I got to go grab it.
He's got to tidy up. We made him make a mess. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's my
So your main musical social media presence would be via the Contrarians and the Mystique project.
Right. So the Mystique thing and the Contrarians are separate. Yeah. Although we did an interview with Martin for the Mystique project, but the Contrarians, that's on YouTube. We're at the Contrarians, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram as well. And we just did an episode on Whitesnake, which came out 2 days ago. And we have another special episode that's coming out, I think, this weekend called 5 More Bands You Won't See on the Contrarians. But we have regular content every week, usually about 2 episodes a week.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. Yeah, I really like it.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It's very entertaining.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I like. Well, in the brief little intro video that you guys have, Martin says it's a different kind of review show, and it is. And actually, I was kind of intimidated before we actually started here tonight. I was kind of intimidated going up against Marco because you guys make some really freaking serious arguments on that show. I mean, you guys, you have fun, but you take it seriously. You guys do your research. What was the one that I saw where you had printed out a whole bunch of reviews and you were reading these reviews? I can't remember which album it was, but I was just like, holy shit, this guy's serious. It's like I felt like I was coming in tonight. I felt like I was defending a dissertation in front of a squad of professors or something like that, you know?
We used to have papers because we would actually film together. Now I have everything virtual. Like everything is just like I did tonight. Like I have a document. But yeah, I try to do research because I can't. I'm never gonna. And we actually get. I'll see comments about people saying, "Oh, critical reviews don't matter, album sales don't matter, set list whatever doesn't matter," stuff like this, right? And I agree. Everything's subjective. Like music, like beauty, is in the eye and the ear of the beholder, right? But when it comes to like, I have to go up against Martin Popoff, who has a career of music knowledge. He forgets more about bands that I've never even heard of than I'll know about music. Like he's a professor, right? So I have to find things to try to debate him again, like find points that are objective. Because and on top of the fact that I'm much younger and he's had a lot more listening experience than me, so it's difficult for me just to show up as a millennial and just say, hey, you're wrong, because why is he wrong? I have to come up with all this stuff. So I try to come up with objective stuff, although some people comment negatively, but it is what it is, I guess. Where was I in that? Yeah, we used to have printed paper, now we don't. We're saving trees.
It's a long answer to a short question, but we do hope that at some point this pandemic ends and you can get back to doing the Contrarians in front of the big wall of records with the CDs and everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this now for a year, and I was hoping that by now people would be going out and doing things on Friday nights again. But here I am still entertaining my friends on a Friday night because of this damn pandemic. So we really hope that we could get back to some kind of normalcy soon. But, in the meantime, I'll continue to chat with my buddies, and I'm glad to now count you among them. So we'll definitely have you back to talk about the Mystique movie, and I think it would be also fun to have you back with our own contrarian, Mr. Harrison Kopp, who's got some really bizarre opinions about a lot of different things. And again, the only reason we didn't have Harrison on tonight is because we kind of had a jammed playbook. We're already at 9:15. But next time we have you on, we don't have to do the shenanigans with the interview. We can skip right past that and go to lists. So maybe we will have to have Mr. Harrison on to... Yeah. God, you guys would make my head explode. Putting him on the show with all of us would make my head explode. That guy is just contrarian crazy. Like his favorite Iron Maiden stuff is Blaze Bayley. So... Wow. Yeah, but he can make a convincing argument too, so he's a knowledgeable fella.
That's cool.
Well, boys, I really thank you for spending so much time with me on a Friday night. Again, I wish that we had something better to do on a Friday night, but here we are. But thank you so much, Marco. I look forward to having you back in the future, and Eric, I know you'll be back. Wouldn't be able to do the show without you.
Hey, Marco, thanks a lot, man. It was a great stuff. And great meeting you. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate that a lot.
That was great.
And then, I said, maybe the next time I come on, we'll do some giveaways off some autograph.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah, let's do that.
Indeed.
Let's do that. I have to, we were talking about giveaways. I still have to procrastinate on taking those to the post office, so maybe it's better if we put off your giveaway till the next visit, because I'm already going to procrastinate on that one. So everybody's loving the show. Thank you so much, all the viewers, for watching tonight. Great comments. I wish I could have put them all on the screen, but just wonderful all around. I'm going to go watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
There you go.
Marco's a Marvel fan. I'm sure you'll be doing that at some point this weekend, too.
And I think that Brian Pillman is the best wrestler of all time. There's a contrarian thing for him.
And his son is wrestling right now, too.
Wow.
Yes, he is, actually. Yeah.
Maybe in the future we'll have to do a rock and wrestling special, too. I'm already buzzing with ideas. Awesome. Well, guys,
there you go.
I'm gonna go boot up my Disney Plus. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will definitely catch you guys another time.
Very cool. Thanks for
having me. Have a great night, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks. Ciao.
Great stuff. Awesome.
magic into anywhere. And a glazed donut. To go.
Lebrain Train. Lebrain Train.
All aboard!
Oops. I left this live.